So, hi everyone. Thanks
Hello.
to be connected with us one more time. So the goal of today, like to remind from last week, not last week, the week before, we had a first webinar about clinical examination. So we talked with Alex about anamnesis and clinical examination on the table. Just to remind the main goal, it was to talk about all the steps of the clinical examination, not only about Alex, but also about multiple tests you can do inside your cabinet, multiple stuff you have to check during the clinical examination. So one more time, guys, don't forget to ask your question during the presentation, because if you put the question only at the end, we have a small gap between the live and your question. We have about 2 minutes gap between live and question. To answer your question, maybe if you ask only at the end, so do not hesitate to ask during the presentation. So just to remind last time, anamnesis and the clinical examination on the table with Alex. We have a sportsman, so he do running, mostly running. And during the anamnesis, we understood that he had an injury on the left tibia, on the leg, in 2012, something like this.
Yeah,
2012. After that, now when he ran and he have knee pain on the left, and we saw on the clinical table examination that it was the pain on the tendon, patellar tendon on the left, and we had also pain on the tibia, the periostesis, something like this in English. I'm not really sure, but the pain when you push on the tibia. So it's basically one inflammation on the left tibia, and he have also low back pain. So this was to sum up the previous movie from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And just maybe we can remind also that the movie is now
now it's available on the YouTube channel. So we have just put the videos that we have recorded the last time on the YouTube channel. You can find from this place all the videos that Laurent, for example, already recorded. So that will be a really useful tool for you guys in order to use it and to share the content that will be online. And every next video they will be on the channel too.
Yeah. So I think we have the Modulo maybe movie,
Modulo Factory, the Opacity Factory, the Presscam, the first version, and the first part of the clinical examination. It will be also for people who have access to the extranet. It will be very soon on the extranet too. So it will be a really great tool and have a lot of content online. Yeah.
Okay, so and this one will be also on the channel, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we can move on now to the next step of the clinical examination. So of course, as you know, guys, after the clinical examination on the table, we will do the clinical examination in a static position. Static position can be quite complete in 3 different plans. And also it can be static in passive position and active position. And after that, depending on what we saw on this static examination, we will do the dynamic examination on a treadmill. If you do not have a treadmill in a cabinet, you can work inside the cabinet, of course, but you must have something about minimum 7 meters, let's say, to have normal steps inside the cabinet. So basic mistakes we did most of the case, people inside the cabinet, they said, okay, I don't have enough place inside my cabinet, so I don't put a treadmill. For me, it's quite opposite situation, in fact, because if you don't have place inside the cabinet, it will be hard to walk more than 7 meters. And with the treadmill, in fact, you need maybe 2 square meters. 2 square meters is enough. You put a treadmill, the patient will walk on it, and you will saw the dynamic work. So in fact, even if you have a small cabinet, I advise you to put 1 treadmill. It will be easier to check some deviation. We'll see together. So this is just before I wanted to say this before to start. So of course, the first thing to control will be on the podoscope, and if you have postoscope, it's even better, because it will be easier also for you to see some deviation with the square behind, and also with the mirror on top. Mostly if you are a bit small, it can be hard to see some deviation on the pelvis, for example. Yeah. So with the mirror, it will be easier to check it. And also, if you take picture, I advise you to take picture to add inside your files. It will be easier to see some deviation with the well square behind than if you just take picture like this on the podoscope. So it's more professional, let's say, and also better for the communication.
Of course, and you can check and be 100% sure.
Yeah, so for me, it's better. So the first thing we have to control is you go on the podoscope.
Yes.
Like this. Benjamin, maybe you can take the movie a bit closer. Okay, so move a bit this one, please.
To grab the laptop too.
Yep. Okay, so of course the first thing you will have to control will be the footprint. That means you know the difference now. If you checked the first movie we did about the press cam, you know that this podoscope will be different analyzed than the analyzed with the press cam. Why it's different? Because you will have the contact from the floor between the foot and the floor, and on the press cam you will have the pressure point. So the pressure points most of the time it can be different than the contact point. Okay, so the first thing you will have to control is the footprint, let's say. So here we have nothing to say. You see that the midfoot is large enough. You don't have lack of control, lack of contact or something like this. But on the sportsman, it's also interesting to control the contact point. So if you have a lack of contact, you see, if you check the bones, you have the styloid here, you have the cuboid here. So if you have a lack of contact here under the cuboid, sometimes because it's a joint a bit complex, articulation a bit complex. So if you have a lack of contact here, that means I advise you anyway to work with an osteopath or chiropractor. So if you have one doubt about one position, you send the patient to the chiropractor or osteopath, and he will send you back some patient. So it's a win-win deal, let's say. So here we do not have a really difference, but sometimes you have difference between left and right, so you must be careful on that. After it's quite classic. You will see if you have a high arch or low arch. Of course, sometimes you have a high arch footprint, but doesn't mean that you have a real high arch. So I explain myself. If you have a pronation, overpronation like this, you have also lack of contact here. So you do not have contact on the midfoot, but you do not have high arch. You have valgus and you lose the contact on the lateral part. Okay, so high arch footprint doesn't mean high arch mechanically. Okay, so this, I think you know this information already. So what we will have to control afterward, after the footprint, basically it's the Achilles tendon access. Achilles tendon access. Remember last time we took 3 landmarks. So one here at the center of the tibial, the triceps, sorry, muscles, center of the tendon, and center of the heel. See these 3 points. You can put also some landmark, like some stickers, and you know that the normal position of this Achilles tendon should be a bit in pronation. So what does that mean? A bit in pronation, that means about 5 degrees. 5 degrees of pronation, it's physiological, okay? So it's normal to have a small pronation. Why? Because you know that the pronation, it's a must when you walk, because it's a kind of amortization of the steps. You should have a small pronation when you walk, so it's physiological. In that situation, we have a small over pronation, a bit more on the left than on the right. If you can check also the midfoot, here you have the navicular bones, and navicular bones is quite low. So you have less, how you say, amplitude?
Flexible.
You have less. So if you have low navicular, you have less degrees of mobility on the midfoot when you walk. So you have a lack of amortization when you walk. So that's why it's important to make an insole for that, because If you take the mode with the windlass effect, you know the process. You take the big toe and you do this, so you can see that the navicular is a bit higher, so you will have more degrees of mobility. So that means you should mold an insoles with high flexibility, so we'll be able to move down and go up again, move down, go up, to have a better angle of flexibility, so higher shock amortization during the work process, during the step. Okay, so this, I hope it was clear. If it wasn't, do not hesitate to ask some question inside the lab. I will answer and explain more, no problem. So, Achilles tendon access, so about 5 degrees valgus is normal. So if you have overpronation, you can put the axe. If you have oversupination, you have no angle or even opposite angle on a lateral. Okay, so this is a very basic analysis. I think most of you already know this information, and we will go a bit deeper in the rest of the analysis. So if you stay on the foot and ankle, you have also some active test. What does that mean? This is passive test. Passive test. So passive, you just take the angle and you check if it's overpronated or oversupinated or physiological. Active test, it's the first one, like I explained before, the windlass effect. It's an active test because you take the foot, the toes, sorry, and you will activate some muscles. You can ask also comment on dit mettre sur la pointe des pieds, to put forward, so you go on your toes. You go on your toes like this. So when you go on your toes, you will have, when you go on your toes, you will have automatic correction, so you can see that the valgus is corrected. So you can go down again. This is a very, very important test to do with the teenager. Some teenager between 13 and 15 years old. If you have overpronated feet, if you do this movement and you have a lack of correction in one side, that means sometimes you have some, the name in English is synostosis. So that means you have lack of flexibility between mid-foot joint articulation. So it's some articulation will be fixed together. So if you have a lack of correction when you do this on one side, you must ask X-ray. You ask X-ray to the doctor to control if you have this synostosis or not. This is a really important test to do with teenagers. So this is most the basic information you can check on the foot and ankle. Then you go a bit higher and you can check the knees. So on this view, on the knees, you can check if you have one knee in recurvatum, so that means too much behind, or flexum, so a bit bent like this, or too much behind. So with Alex, it's important to check depth because he had an injury on the left. So if he had a big injury on the left with probably some stress also tendon or stuff like this, so you may have maybe a bit of recurvatum on the left, and it's the case. So if you put both fingers like this, you can see that my left finger is more behind than the right one. So you have a small recurvatum on the left knee. So we will be able to also control this deviation on the sagittal plane. So we'll do a bit later. So on the knees, that's it. We have to control like this. So you can remove the shirt, please. Then we go a bit higher on the pelvis. So on the pelvis, you will have multiple deviation also to check. So first deviation we have to check, of course, it's the buckling pelvis. So if you have a deviation on the pelvis, so low pelvis on the left, low pelvis on the right, something like this. So do not use the finger like that. You can use mostly with the finger like this. It's really more precise. So to Alex, of course, we do not have any deviation on the pelvis because we didn't saw also on the clinical table examination some difference between legs. We didn't saw anything. But if you saw some difference between legs on the clinical table, you will have to control the pelvis position on the static position. Okay. So this was on the frontal plane. you can control also in a transversal plan, horizontal plan is like that. So you can control also if you have, I don't know really exactly the name in English, but if you have deviation like this, gyration, I think it's gyration in English also. So if you have a bit of rotation, I mean, like that, or like this. So to Alex, you have a little deviation like this. Right, not a big one, but you have a little one. And remember that he have a pain on the left knee. So maybe it can be an explanation about the pain in the left knee. So it will be something we will have to control next week on the next step on the press cam again. Why? Because if you have a small deviation on the pelvis, maybe you have over pressure on the left, so you have over pressure on the left knee and you have pain on the left knee. So maybe we will have to control that. I don't know yet, we will see on the press cam. Okay, so if you move a bit up, you have also the scapular plan. So no big deviation here on the shoulders. But if you have a low shoulders like this, or if you have something like that, of course, it will be hard to control this with the insoles, but it will be easy for you to say, okay, go to see one chiro, go to see one physio, go to do something else, because only the orthotics won't be the solution for everything, of course, but you can control some stuff and send the patient to other practitioners. So, same thing for the head. So if you have the head a bit like that, or a bit turned like this, of course, it will be impossible to change the position of the head with your insoles. Do not dream too much, but it will be possible for you to discuss with the patient. Do you have one eye you see less than the other one? Do you have a heels problem, or you have a teeth problem, or something like this? If the answer, that's why the anamnesis 2 weeks ago was important, but you can ask still, if you check some deviation, you can ask one more time. And if you don't see anything, send the patient to chiropractor or osteopath and ask the chiropractor or osteopath to search some specific deviation about the head. This is really important. I will explain why, because next week when we will control deviation on the press cam, and if you see some deviation not really logical, sometimes it can be between because the head is a bit, you have a small deviation on the head, so the pressure point will be not logical at the end. But it's not your fault. It's the fault of the head maybe, and you have some deviation on the head. So this is important to check from head to feet always. We have a global situation. So just to sum up on this position, we have a bit overpronated ankles, a bit more on the left than on the right. Small recurvatum, but it's really small, so you have to control, is it only in static or also in dynamic? So it will be next point to control together. And we have a bit of rotation of the pelvis also. But that's it, nothing else for the moment. So we did also one active test, so like that, so this is okay. So you can move now to the sagittal plan, like this. Yeah, perfect. So now to the sagittal plan, we have also some things to control. Remember, we said that we had a small recurvatum. If you have small recurvatum or small flexum, you can control also with this equipment. You can tell me in English, Benjamin, the name of this one?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody, this one. Nobody knows the name in English. I think in French it's fil à plomb.
Posturoscope.
Non, mais
It's on the catalogue.
Fil à plomb. So this is basically.
Don't think too much.
I even don't know how to say fil.
Yeah, it's a line. It's
Okay.
a line with a weg at the end.
Yeah, this is the official name. With the weg at the end. So you can use this equipment if you have posturoscope to take some measurement, in fact. So it will be to compare between left and right. If you have bent knees, or opposite, you have over. So basically, you just go a bit in front of the of this bone here on the lateral of the ankle. And you have this, the bone of the femur. femur. It's a big trochanter name, and it should be the line just behind the patellas. So here it's more or less okay, and we will do the opposite knees, please. And you can compare, and you can see that the line is a bit forward on the left. So we have the confirmation that we have a bit of small recurvatum on the left. So the knee is a bit too much behind on the left. It's not a big deviation, but you can take the measurement and compare with next year, for example, or a few months later. If you do some physiotherapy, for example, we can a bit reduce this deviation. It won't be necessarily the in-source the solution for that. Maybe some muscles, because if you work a bit on muscles, if you work a bit on the quadriceps, you will have less deviation. So it can be a physio solution. As you know, in Poland, for example, as you are physio, you know the answer better than me. Okay, if you stay on this position and you still use this magical red cable. Also, we know that we have a lot of runners with such deviation, so too much forward. The name is antepulsion, so too much forward. So if you put this line just a bit in front, so forward of the lateral bones here, the ankle should be here on the big trochanter and here on the heel. So here we have no big deviation. Even if it's runner, most of the runners are a bit too much forward. It's not a big difference here, so it's okay. That's it about sagittal plane deviation. Okay, you can put it like that. And now, yeah, like that. So you can move a bit backward, like this. So the first thing you will have to control here, of course, will be the toes. So if you have hallux valgus, if you have, how you say this, toes a bit like that. You have canthus valgus like this. So we have many deviation, you know, on the toes, on the fingers. So here we have no big deviation, but if you have something, you can take a picture at this step. Afterwards, so you can also control with this view one more time the small active deviation we tried on the first view together. So you can do one more time the windlass effect. So you can move up the finger and you see that the muscles work well because I have correction when I do this. You see, like this is a small movement. Have less pronation when I do that, so the muscles is working. Okay, and I can do the same here. That we can see it's a bit harder on the left foot, so it's confirmed that I have a bit more overpronated left foot than on the right. No, because if you have a bit of, you have a small overpronation, you have to control. What about the knee? Is it you have the genu valgum, or you have genu varum, or you have physiological knee? Because the correction will be different. If you have overpronation and you have genu valgum, so valgum it's like this, medial deviation, and varum is like that. So if you have genu valgum with overpronation, you won't have the same correction that if you have pronation and knees on the lateral. Okay, so you have to control also about the knees. So put your feet like that, please. The first thing to control before to check the angle of the legs, you will have to put both patellas here in front of you. So that's why we put a small landmark. It's hard to check here now because we put it at the beginning of the afternoon, but you have a small cross in the middle of the both patellas. So the goal will be to have the small cross in front of you. So you have to open a bit the feet, please. Un peu moins. Un peu moins encore. Yeah. So like this, I have the patellas in front of me. So now, when you have the patellas in front of you, you can check the angles. And we can see his case that he have a bit of genu varum. So I have no contact here, and I have contact on the ankles. Okay, so I know that he have a bit of overpronated feet, but with genu varum on the knees. Okay, so what does that mean? That means if I want to correct something, you can take me. So if I want to correct something, I have to correct both overpronation and genu varum, or nothing. Because if I correct only the feet, I correct the pronation, then I will push too much the knees on the lateral, and I can hurt the knees. So I have to correct nothing or everything. So pronation and genu varum, or just stabilize in the natural position. So everything or nothing. This is very important. A lot of mistakes are doing by professional in cabinets because of this. So if you check only the feet, basically you will have over correction on the pronation most of the case. Laurent, you can check if we have some question. I can answer the lab.
No question yet. No question yet.
Perfect. That means it's quite clear. So I'm happy. Okay, then we move. So we check the knees. Then we move to the pelvis. So pelvis, of course, we have not only low pelvis deviation. We have also some. The name in English is buckling. So buckling is basically when you have pelvis like that or like this. So if you have not about my head.
No, no, about that.
Okay, so if you have pelvis like this, you will have automatic. So you can stay normal. No.
I am.
If you have, I will try to explain without laughing. When you have pelvis a bit of a deviation like that, automatically it's never moving straight like this. It's impossible. So if you have a bit of a deviation on the right, that means you have it's a bit lower on the left. Okay, so do not correct the left. You have to correct the buckling deviation. So of course this is a lot of information for you if you begin in a podiatry, but do not hesitate to ask a question. I will answer by mail if you have some precise question about this. And of course we have many webinars afterward, so we will explain deeper and deeper small tips about small correction. Also on the press cam, and when we are going to prepare the insoles, we'll explain also what we are doing. So, but what I wanted to say, do not make mistakes between buckling and short leg. It's really different situation. So if you have buckling like that, you will think that you have short leg on the left. It's not the case. It's because of the buckling. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. And the scapular plan is okay. The head, it is like it is, but it's not a big deal.
Thank you.
And now we'll have, so this was all the passive test. Now we'll do a bit of active test to control the stability, mostly on the left, because he had past injury on the left. So we'll have to control stability on the left. So how to control that? You stay on one foot, you bend your knees, and you do the same on the second one. So we have no big problems on the left. If you want to check a bit more precise, you can do the same with closed eyes. You close your eyes and you do the same. And you will tell if you feel less stable on one side.
Definitely. Yeah, it's not the same.
So
the left one is worse than the
okay.
Right.
So he feels less stable on the left. So it's quite logical because he had a past injury. So the solution won't be necessarily the insoles, even if we are maybe we will do something a bit more stable on the left. But of course, it's the exercise. You know, as physio, I know that a lot of Polish people check the movie. So you know, as a physio, that it will be some exercise to do at home. We can tell some example. You can do like this. So you do only some flexion like this. You can close your eyes. You can do some small jumps on the line. We have many exercises available to try to stabilize a bit more this left leg because it was an injury in the past. Okay, I think it's enough. So just to sum up on his case, what we are going to check on dynamic position and afterward next week on the press cam. we are going to check if you have overpronated effectively also on the pressure point, mostly on the left. Okay. If you have a lack of stability on the step on the left, because it will be hard to check only with the eyes, it will be interesting to check with the curves with the press cam. But what about this left step? Is it stable or it's not? So we have to check next week. Also about the pelvis, we have a bit small rotation, so we'll have to control on the next step next week. You have nice percentage between left and right, or you have a small deviation about the pressure point because of this pelvis deviation. So if it's the case, we'll have to test some correction in live on the press cam about this. What else? The rest it was okay. So now in dynamic position, we'll check, is it still overpronated on the left, or we'll have to check also if you have some eventually some rotation. So we know that the patellas to be in front of you, you will have a small angle like this. So we will control on the treadmill if you work in the same position, or if you work with a small rotation. And the rest should be okay. So we go now to the treadmill. So you can move a bit, we'll check. And on the treadmill, okay, so the first thing we'll have to control on the treadmill, of course, it will be the axis on the heel. Okay, so now we'll check if it's still a bit more overpronation on the left, and you can see, I think, even better than mine with the movie, that it's a bit overpronated, a bit more on the left than on the right. So we have a confirmation after the static analysis that it's a bit more overpronation on the left, also in dynamic. Okay, so this back view is mostly to control the calcaneus deviation, so valgus, overpronation, oversupination, and so on. And you can check, as some physio, you can check also the movement of the pelvis. When he walks, you should have the same movement on the right than on the left. So if you have something blocked on one side, one more time, I advise you to work with multiple professions because it will be win-win deal. So you send someone to the osteopath or physio or chiropractor, and he will send you back some other patients. And that's it. Now we can check a lateral view. So we have also something to control. Remember that we discussed together that the left knee was a bit too much recurvatum. So we have to control in dynamic if it's still the case. So as he's quite tonic, have some muscles, effective muscles on the left, more or less. So he have no recurvatum on the left knee when he walks. It's even almost opposite. So he have a bit of flexum when he walks. So we don't need with the inverse to correct this small recurvatum, because in dynamic you have no deviation like that. Don't forget that most of your clinical deviation, most of your pathology is because of dynamic deviation. So if it's dynamic, in dynamic you have no big problem, you have no big correction about that. What else on this view? Of course, you should, when you walk, you should start with the heel, and the first contact on the floor will be, of course, on the heel and on the lateral part of the heel. And when you start the contact to the floor, it should be approximately at 90 degrees. So here we have no big problem about this. And the last view will be in the front. So the last view, of course, like I explained just before, you have to control if you have some rotation deviation. So basically here, you can check also the feet. As I told you before, you have a bit of overpronation. So you have a bit lack of movement, so less shock amortization, because don't forget that the feet, he will produce shock amortization by going down and going up. So when you have overpronation, or the same with high heart, you have less movement on the midfoot, so you have less shock amortization on the midfoot. So here it's okay, no deviation from the patellas, so I wanted to control that. So here no big deviation, so we can stop the treadmill. You want to continue? So we can go back to the general view to sum up a bit the situation. Okay, so as you understood, guys, just to sum up the results of the different testing. Of course, it will be a lot of information. Then you have to of course, not over-corrected everything. So let them fix the camera. It will be quite difficult. Okay.
Nice, guys.
Yeah, nice work. Just I wanted to tell, of course, we discussed a lot with, we explained a lot of different deviation. Do not correct everything every time, because you will have over-connected insoles. You will have to be careful and to do a correction only the point linked to the motif of the consultation. Why he came to you? Because of the left knee. So do not correct everything. Try to correct only the stuff directly linked to the pain that the patient have. So if I want to sum up everything we saw with Alex today, basically we have a bit overpronation, a bit more on the left than on the right, but we have also genuine param. Okay, we have, if we control the pelvis, a bit of rotation. So I keep this in mind. And on the treadmill, we have basically no big deviation. We have still the overpronation a bit more on the left than on the right, but no rotation movement. So this is really important. And now, of course, the clinical examination is not done. We have still some information, some crucial, important information to control on the ProScan before to finalize all the clinical examination, because I have some stuff I want to control on the ProScan. I don't know about difference between right and left. I have to control on the ProScan if you have really an overpronation on the left when you walk, and in static. And in static, I have to control what about this pelvis deviation. Do I have some difference between left and right or not because of that? And in dynamic, I will control the curve and the stabilization of the left foot. And if you have overpronation, basically on the left, yes or not. So we'll have to control this next week together. So if you still have some questions before next week, of course, do not hesitate to send a few emails. It can be to Alex straight or to Laurent, and they will transfer the email to me if you have some question. And that's it. So yeah. Laurent,
it will be the last clinical examination.
It will be the final clinical examination, and then the week after it will be a small webinar about how to communicate with the patient, how to communicate with the doctors, how to complete the documents, how to small tools we can help you with the communication, and how to basically prepare the insoles. So it will be the last step before to do some workshop work together before to prepare the insoles basically. Okay. So it could be also interesting, I guess. Yeah. So Benjamin, do we have any question? No. No questions. So I hope that means it was clear. Guys, see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
See you.